So, you're listening to this right now, right? But what if I told you that the very act of hearing isn't just passive? That sound is actively shaping your heartbeat, your romantic choices, and even how hard you can push yourself at the gym. Today, in this explainer, we're going to decode the sonic blueprint that runs our lives in ways we almost never notice. Let's start with something we've all felt. You put on a song, and suddenly your whole mood shifts. How is that possible? How can a bunch of vibrations in the air tap directly into our emotions? I mean, it feels like magic, but I promise you, it is pure science. To really get this, we've got to go way back. We're going to trace the incredible journey of sound from the very first notes played on bone flutes 40,000 years ago, all the way up to the seriously controversial science of so-called digital drugs, sounds literally designed to alter your brain. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll see how our tastes in music literally evolved over thousands of generations. Then we're diving into the wild world of digital drugs and asking, can they really change your brainwaves? After that, we'll look at the surprising role music plays in attraction, how it can trick you into working out harder, and finally, how all of this fits into a huge, unspoken language that connects us all. All right, let's kick things off at the very beginning. Even Charles Darwin was kind of stumped by music. His best guess? That our musical abilities evolved for one main reason: to help us find a mate. That a good song was basically a powerful tool for seduction. So to test Darwin's idea, modern scientists use this concept from biology called a fitness landscape. Just think of it like a popularity map for music. The low spots, the valleys, are the tunes nobody likes. And the high peaks, those are the smash hits, the sounds that everybody just loves. And check this out, in one brilliant experiment, researchers basically created a musical version of the Hunger Games. They got thousands of people online to rate these random computer-generated noises. The sounds that got the best ratings got to reproduce. Their code was mixed together to create a new generation of music. They did this over and over, letting taste alone drive musical evolution. And the results? They are absolutely fascinating. For about the first 600 generations, the sounds went from just awful noise to something that was actually musical. But then, for the next 2,000 generations, things just kind of flatlined. The music had hit its peak. It's like evolution found the perfect pop song and then just couldn't do any better. So we've seen how music can evolve to please a crowd. But what if we could engineer a sound to target one person's brain specifically? Well, that is the promise and the major controversy behind a whole new frontier in audio. It all centers on this amazing auditory illusion called binaural beats. Here's how it works. If you play a 440 Hz tone in your left ear and a 400 Hz tone in your right ear, your brain doesn't hear two separate tones. Nope, it creates a third phantom beat at the difference, in this case, 40 Hz. The idea is that your brainwaves then sync up to this ghost frequency, and that could potentially change your whole mental state. And the hype around this stuff is real. Some researchers are even calling them digital drugs. And as you can see from this quote, they're taking the potential here incredibly seriously. I mean, the idea of a sound that could boost your focus or slash your anxiety with no side effects, that's the holy grail. But this is where the hype kind of slams into reality. As this table makes really clear, for every amazing promise, like better memory or less anxiety, the actual scientific results are, well, a mess. They are all over the place, and some studies even show these beats can make your cognitive performance worse. So for now, the jury is definitely still out. Okay, so if directly messing with our brainwaves is still on the drawing board, what about using music in a way we already do all the time? Like, setting the mood for a date. Does that actually work? Researchers in Japan have set up a test for this. They had young men and women get to know each other, basically on a bunch of mini first dates. For some of the couples, the room was totally silent. For others, one of these 5 very different songs was playing in the background. And here is the first big surprise. It didn't matter one bit what was playing. Beethoven, Timbaland, pop, rap, classical. The genre was completely irrelevant. What mattered was just the presence of music. With any song playing, participants rated their partners as more likable and, get this, as someone they'd actually want to date. It seems like sound is a kind of social lubricant. So music clearly has a pull on our hearts in the romantic sense. But what about our literal heart rate? Can it actually change how our body performs when we exercise? The data here tells such a cool story. When people ran on a treadmill while listening to rhythmic music, they reported that the workout felt way easier. their perceived effort was lower. The music was making the whole thing feel less intense. But here is the crazy part. Even though they felt less tired, their average heart rates were actually a little bit higher with music. They were physically working harder, pushing their bodies more, but they didn't even realize it. The music was a performance enhancer they couldn't even feel. And this all reveals something pretty profound. Music isn't just entertainment. It's a type of nonverbal language that can speak directly to our bodies and our brains, a lot of the time completely bypassing our conscious mind. And you know what? It's not the only language that does this. Yep, just like music, our bodies have their own silent vocabulary. That quick eyebrow flash you give a stranger, a brief touch on the arm, a genuine smile that makes your eyes crinkle, these are all notes in a social symphony. They're tiny, nonverbal cues that, just like the background music on a date, can instantly change the entire emotional feeling of an interaction. So, from the way our tastes evolved, to that extra push at the gym, to the spark of attraction, it's pretty clear that our reality is constantly being tuned by these invisible forces. This great, unspoken symphony of sound and gesture is playing all around us all the time, which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. Are you really the one conducting your life? Or are you just dancing to a rhythm you can't even hear?